is as a provider of cloud services and the infrastructure underlying cloud, one of the things that we've started to see a lot of is customers reaching out looking for, okay, I want your economy of scale, not just for the hardware, but for the people too. For, manage this stuff for me, because you can do it with 5 people for 1,000 servers, and I got to do 5 people for 3 servers, or whatever the ratio is, right? Are you seeing that, Helen, in the offerings and in your customers?
Absolutely. I mean, Verizon Enterprise Solutions is working with enterprise customers on the continuum of IT service provisioning, from managed hosting, colo, to cloud, public through on-premise private cloud. So what the exchange and the dialogue that we're having with our customers is less about how many VMs do you need, how many terabytes you need, and it's more about which of these workloads are in your premises versus our premises, and who owns the accountability for managing them. So, more and more customers are looking to get out of the plumbing business and become more strategic business analysts and data architects, and hand off the responsibility of the care and feeding of the environment, assuming it can be secured and privatized, if you will, in the way that the business requires and supports that risk profile. We're patching the OS, we're refreshing the hardware, we're dealing with all of that in a way that, not just from a cost perspective, and I think Tim made the point before in the previous panel, it's not about TCO as much as it's about agility and efficiency, and where you focus your team's skill set on, and where you leverage a provider to do that. But again, cloud is just the next logical phase in that cycle, from an understanding how that blends from what we're doing with managed hosting and also network provisioning and security, sort of makes that a broader perspective.
Okay. Now, if we assume then that cloud is in fact fueling the ability for companies to be more agile and to reduce costs in certain areas, then that implies they're going to want to adopt cloud, and so they're doing that, and then that raises the specter of security. We were touching on that earlier, and recently over an interesting kind of a social dinner event, I had a conversation with an executive who's the head of infrastructure for one of the large banks here in the city, and he told me, he says, we look at security of our infrastructure very differently than a lot of people. We don't look at these recent hacks as being anything trivial. This isn't, the teenager in the dead of night digging into somebody's system. These are state-sponsored things. These are state-sponsored things that are driving and really putting us on notice that when they want to, they can cripple our infrastructure. Now, given that sort of a discussion, I said, well, I'm going to see this guy, my friend Emery here, pretty soon. I'm going to say, what are your views on that from Homeland Security? Because I know 2 years ago you were with us, and he talked about state-sponsored security issues, and everybody at the time said, what is that, right? Well, I think we're sort of living it now, right? So, you have some advice or some comments about this?
Yeah, I think, I've been working with Homeland Security for about 11 years, and in the last 2-3 years, what we're really seeing is a vendor awareness of the state-sponsored attack. You can see a lot of articles and information out there in the press right now, but what we're really seeing is how is that turning around when we're actually working with a particular vendor like a Verizon or something. And what you see as part of the security authorization process that I know we're doing for the FedRAMP process in the federal space, what you're seeing is a lot of vendors who historically did security because these are the 10 things that I had to do. What they didn't necessarily do is do a holistic program of saying, oh wait, I really need to have a strong process for detecting advanced persistent threat. I really need a strong process for shutting down a provider that is compromised, and how do I extract all of my data in a matter of a couple days versus a year-long thing, because that vendor, if they were compromised, may no longer be in business in a week. So what you're seeing, especially the vendors that we're using in the federal space, is really taking a new look at our service level agreements, making sure that our vendors are accredited in a way that we are very confident that they know what an attack looks like and that they can respond to it. We've worked with a lot of vendors at this point, and it doesn't matter if you're large or you're small. Some of them are really good, and some of them are not very good. I think some of the ones that you saw this summer were probably in the not necessarily so good spot. It's not impossible to recover from that, but there has to be a certain awareness of what an APT attack looks like and how you're going to build that into an organization. I think you're seeing more and more of that, either from a delivery service, from a delivery vendor, or from somebody just signing up for a service. And are you asking the right questions nowadays? Before you were asking questions of, oh, I need cloud services, and I need this kind of capabilities for virtual machines. Now I also want to know exactly how are you managing patches. If I look at OpenSSL or Bash, are they able to give me an answer within 24 hours, because in 36 hours I might be compromised. So it's a very new dynamic, and I think it's really skyrocketed in the last 12 months probably.